Hi, Evgenia. It's nice to see that you've written us a set of essays. Let's see what you did here, international marketing. Okay. Nowadays, there is no doubt that the world is more connected than ever before. There are many multinational corporations promoting their products in many different countries through international marketing campaigns. All right. This is a good start, but unfortunately, it's not enough. What you need to do here is you need to rephrase this conflict here, the fact that there are these two different points of view, and then you have to answer the question. You have to respond to this command and essentially give your position, give your opinion. In the band descriptors, it tells us that you need to have a clear position throughout your response in order to be considered for a band 7. So it's important that you respond to this as early as your introduction, okay? So some people argue that those marketing campaigns could result quite invasive. No, some people argue that marketing campaigns could be quite invasive for a country since they do not always take into consideration the habits and traditions of the local culture. For certain cultures, there could be content that may be considered inappropriate or even offensive. On other occasions, they could be encouraging people to replace local products with imported ones, which is not beneficial for small local economies. They could even create new needs or try to establish different beauty standards. Considering, for example, beauty products, international marketing may promote standards which could differ significantly from the country's traditional ones. Okay, here's the good news. The good news is that your grammar is very good. Your vocabulary is fine. It's quite nice. But let me tell you what the problem is. This is not a paragraph. And what do I mean? It's not a paragraph because it reads like a list. It basically felt like a bulleted list. Number 1, this and this. Number 2, this and this. Okay, so you had a list of reasons why international marketing can be bad, but what you didn't do is you didn't support any of your ideas. You have to back up your ideas with some sort of an explanation, some sort of an example, some sort of further development of the idea so that the reader knows exactly what you're talking about, okay? And without doing this, it's not going to get you a band score and task achievement that you probably want. Okay. On the other hand, big multinational companies always try to expand their market share by promoting their products in new places. Thus, an international marketing campaign is necessary. Some of those products that might not exist in some countries can not result, that's the wrong word, can, what's the word you want here? Can be, basically, the best word you could use here actually is be. Can be very useful. Another important advantage is that it could open a window to a different culture or language, and people could even start to question older traditions that they might want to change. Again, you need to back all of this up. It's very underdeveloped. You need to explain a little bit further. So, you said they can be very useful. Okay, like what? Show me an example of an international marketing product, a product of international marketing that was very useful for another country. Or explain to me how it might be very useful. All right, these are all things that you need to develop further. And the same thing here needs to happen as well. Remember that you're supposed to talk about it being a new source of ideas, language, culture. You did that a little bit, but again, you didn't develop it enough, and so it needs a little more work. Now, we typically, here at IELTSpodcast.com, we don't recommend a 5-paragraph structure. Instead, your opinion should be kind of incorporated into the second body paragraph, okay? But let's see what you wrote. In my opinion, in the 21st century's globalized world, international marketing is inevitable. However, it is important for every country to keep its identity. That is why I believe all those campaigns should take into account the culture, habits, and traditions of every country and try to adapt their strategies and content of their campaigns as much as possible. Okay, what you really should have done is you should have taken some of this and put it in your introduction, and then some of this and put it in this paragraph, okay? You still needed to develop both of these paragraphs more. Overall, although certain international marketing campaigns could not result, you keep using result wrong. You're looking for a different word here. Could be considered invasive, that would be good. They could also be informative and useful provided that they respect the local culture. All right, that part's fine. So some good elements here. Your grammar is for the most part really good. Your use of result, which you use several times, is wrong. Not a huge deal. But I want you to work on the task achievement and how you develop your ideas. That's what you really need to work on here. All right, having a well-structured and a well-developed essay. So let's move on and talk about this rainfall one. The given line graph presents some information about the amount of rainfall in 3 different regions of the UK throughout 2008. It is interesting to note that all regions are quite rainy, since they usually receive approximately between 50 mm and 120 mm of rainfall during most months. It's ml, actually. Look. Okay. It sounds like this was supposed to be your overview. I see you also have an overview here. It's like a conclusion. If this is in fact your overview, then you shouldn't have put any data here. We typically don't. But it might be okay since you had an overview here as well. Let's see what else you said. The highest amount of what? The highest amount of rainfall recorded was in Wales during April, reaching almost 140 ml, followed closely by about 130 ml a month later in England. The lowest amount was during February in Wales, making it the least rainy month since it didn't rain at all. Okay. The least rainy month also differs among the areas, with England receiving less rain in July and Scotland during December and January. The biggest fluctuation observed in Wales, since rainfall varies significantly every month, with England showing a similar pattern. Scotland, on the other hand, shows a more stable pattern, receiving more than 100 ml from April to October, but much lower amounts during colder months. Overall, rainfall differs significantly depending on the month and the area. All right. Again, the grammar is lovely here. It's really, really nice. It read very easily. I differ a little bit with the way you decided to approach this. You kind of took a top-down approach. So it was like, okay, this is the highest, and then this, and then da-da-da-da-da. What it's missing, really, from us with this is that we don't really get a sense of what you're looking at. It's a line graph, and we know that, but you treated it kind of like a bar chart, or I don't know. So it felt kind of strange. When I see a line graph like this, to me, it should read like a story. So what do I mean? I mean that if I were going to do this, first of all, you've got 36 pieces of information, right? Obviously, you can't talk about all of them. So you were quite right in selecting some of the important ones. For me, let me tell you what the important ones are. Number 1, number 2, okay, then number 3, and number 4. Those are the most important parts for England. For Scotland, it would be 1, probably 2, and probably 3. Maybe you might want to mention these 2 little weird things here as well. For Wales, it would be 1, 2, 3, and probably 4. So you don't really have to mention a whole ton. I'd say anywhere between 12 and 15 pieces of information, which you can do relatively easily. For me, the most important things are always the beginning, because it's like a story, right? So you need to know where the story begins. You need to know where the story ends, but you also want to know some of the main parts in the middle. And that's why I selected those pieces of information. So that's kind of how I would have developed it. Of course, as the expression says, all roads lead to Rome. There's not just one way to do a task 1, but that's one way that I have found in my experience makes for very clear and easily readable task 1. All right, so like I said, your grammar is really good, but there's still some work. I don't know what score you need. I bet you it's probably a 7. So you've got some good elements, but it does need work. So let's see how we can continue to work together, whether it's through the online course or whether it's through essay corrections. I would like to see more essays from you. I would like to see you incorporating some of the things that I talked about today in your writing. So hopefully we'll see more essays from you in the future. Wish you good luck.